Hey, welcome back to the Victors Podcast. I'm Jeremy Brown, and before we get into this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tommy Cannon. He was a great high school basketball player, and I'm just glad to have him as a fan of my channel. Alright, let's get into it. So, 2019, there were a lot of teams who didn't live up to their potential, but the most overhyped by far was Michigan. And in this video, I'm not necessarily just hating on Michigan for no reason. They're my team, and they always will be, but I feel like I just need to call them out because they let us fans down with overexcitement and being overhyped at the beginning of the season. And a lot of this fault is not necessarily on Michigan, it's on the media for overhyping them and pumping them up, but it goes both ways. Both failed in production. So, Michigan started off the year number 7 in the country, and who wouldn't put them as a top 10 team? They had second-year varsity former 5-star QB transfer in Shea Patterson, a stacked receiving core, a great O-line with 4 future picks in the NFL draft, and a new offense which was supposed to be speed and space, led by Josh Gaddis. Not to mention that the previous year they walked into the Ohio State game number 4 in the country with a Big Ten championship and college football playoff spot potentially on the line before one of the biggest collapses by a team in the second half I've ever seen. But over the year, Shea Patterson regressed, the receiver play was decent at best, and the defense was same old with Don Brown, showing the same old blitzes since 2016 and barely to almost never switching up to zone. So, every team above Michigan in the polls lived up to top 10 standards, with Clemson winning the ACC championship and making it to the national championship, Alabama winning 11 games and beating Michigan in the Citrus Bowl, Georgia playing for the SEC championship, Oklahoma making it to the playoffs while winning the Big 12 championship, Ohio State winning the Big Ten championship and making it to the playoffs, and LSU winning the SEC championship and winning the national championship. Michigan, on the other hand, finished 9-4 while getting whooped by Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Alabama in the Citrus Bowl. So, besides Michigan, the only team that did as bad or worse in the top 10 at the time of the beginning of the season was Texas, going 8-5, and it's Texas, so what do you expect? Michigan's speed and space offense finished 44th in the country and 25th in overall defense in the country, which is terrible by Michigan standards, especially for Don Brown. I don't know what happened there. So, a quick overview of the disappointing season is a too close to comfort win, 40-21 over Middle Tennessee, a gun-wrenching overtime win against Army, which they should have won, but it was a freshman kicker from 50 yards out, and he missed it by a hair, so I'm not really going to put them on that. They basically won that game, but it's a win in our books. And then the next week against Wisconsin, it was a total defensive collapse, and the offensive was a no-show until the second half, I think around the fourth quarter where they just put up garbage points. A stomping of Rutgers as usual, a 10-3 win against number 14 Iowa, where the defense actually did show up, a surprisingly close game against Illinois with a lot of mistakes, and then the Penn State game is where things get interesting. So, going into the Penn State game, Michigan is 5-1 and number 16 in the country, while Penn State is number 7 and 6-0. Alright? And this is huge. It could keep Michigan's playoff chances alive, Big Ten chances alive, etc. So in the first half, U of M's defense gets burned for 21 points, and the offense doesn't do anything, absolutely nothing. Okay? In the second half, we score, I think it was like a few-yard run by Charbonnet, we score, get on the board, and then Josh Metellus lets up like a 30-yard touchdown pass to KJ Hamler. And then Michigan goes down the field, scores twice, gets the ball back, drives down the field again, it's 4th and goal, and Shea Patterson steps up in the pocket, throws, it was a decent pass to Ronnie Bell, I was kind of under him. Ronnie Bell had to stretch out and dive for it, but he dropped it. We came up short, and we ended up losing that game. But what it did show us was that Josh Gaddis' offense had potential, and even though it wasn't his offense that he pitched at the beginning of the year, that it could do something. And then now we go into the Notre Dame game, where they're number 8 in the country, and even though we whipped Notre Dame, they still were a pretty good team that year. It's not like they were overrated, I don't think so. So we whipped Notre Dame, we whipped Maryland, MSU, and then we go to Indiana, and a lot of people were saying it could be a little upset game, but then we whip Indiana too, with a pretty good offensive effort there in all 4 games. And then we obviously walking into Ohio State and Alabama and we get destroyed. And I covered that in recent videos of why we got destroyed. It was no offense in the second half and no defense. I don't know. I don't understand why Don Brown, what he does not get out of going into these big games. It happened last year against Ohio State, happened last year against Florida 2 years ago, and then it happened last year against Wisconsin, it happened last year against Penn State, it happened last year against Ohio State, it happened last year against Alabama. So I don't understand what he's not getting. What do you not understand? So at some point you need to realize that your talent doesn't match up with their talent, or if it does, even at their talent, your schemes aren't working of just blitzing and playing man to man to man to man to man to man to man the entire game. You need to switch it up. It's ridiculous. Try zone. I don't know how many times he tried zone. I'll have to take a look at that. I might make a video on that. But you have to do something to not let them just throw the ball all over you. First play of the game against Alabama, Jerry Jeudy, dime. Just walks into the end zone. Ridiculous. And then he did do a good job later in the game in the second quarter. He did a great job on defense. Third and fourth, terrible. Again, obviously. Bama put up, 19 more points? And it wouldn't be as bad limiting Alabama to 35, but then at the end of the game, they were on the goal line about to score another touchdown, but then the game ended. I'm pretty sure Bama decided to just take a knee at that point, because I don't know. I'm pretty sure they decided to take a knee. Offense didn't do anything the entire second half, literally nothing, and I'm pretty sure that was limited to Shea Patterson, but I don't know. I don't know what Josh Gaddis was doing. Charbonnet didn't get a lot of carries in the Alabama game for some reason. He's been on fire, so him and Haskins, I don't understand. So Michigan finished number 18 in the country, 9-4, and very mediocre. Again, Michigan was overhyped, overrated, no closer to beating Ohio State, and needs time to develop an offensive scheme and mix up the defense. So hopefully in 2020 U of M will kind of turn things around and finally accomplish something meaningful. If not 2020, then the very most 2021. I cannot repeat this again. Harbaugh does not get it in 2020. Let's make a little exception for COVID year. At least 2021, okay? Joe Milton, I think he's going to be a senior? We're going to have a more developed offensive line. I know Ed Warner can get that done. Our defense is going to be stacked again, just same as this year. Dax Hill's going to be in his third year in defense. He'll be sweet to see. He's probably going to be one of the most electric safeties in the country. Running backs, Charbonnet and Haskins will be in their third year. Defense, offensively, receivers will be going into their second, third year. I don't think we have any big receivers leaving. Maybe Ronnie Bell. I think he may be leaving. Let's see if he's good enough to go in the NFL. I don't know. I don't know if he's a senior or not. I'll have to check that on that. But that's it. 2021. I don't care about J.J. McCarthy. You got to get it done with Milton. And if Milton's not your superstar quarterback, go down to, what's his name? The new kid. He's supposed to be really good. We got him, I think, in 2019 recruiting class, 2018. He was like Alabama's top recruit for QB. Go to him. Go to his backup. All right? I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of us just saying on a quarterback who isn't good because of his superiority, or us just not being able to win games with the level of talent we have. It's like Texas. Texas has the number 5 roster in the country. Okay? They just lost to TCU. Probably going to lose to Oklahoma next week. It's ridiculous. This should not be happening. With the level of talent you have to develop your players or get a QB that's good enough to lead them. So, that's it. That wraps up my podcast. That is why Michigan was the most overhyped team in 2019. I'm Jeremy Brown, and as always, go blue.